So welcome back to another one of our business conversations, our really popular series where we bring experts in and talk about issues of the day that affect everyone in a wide variety of professional services. So while you're here, do remember to hit that like button and of course that subscribe one. It's really, really important. And today we're going to delve into offices of the future and working environments and what that looks like. And because of what my guest does, we're also going to do one of my favourite things and look into the world of BD and business development, which in 2024 has never been more important with the way the market is. So I'm delighted to welcome David Maurice here, who's a principal at communications and strategy at Wingates, a design and architectural practice. And we'll be talking all those things I've discussed here. Welcome, David.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for having me.
My absolute pleasure. And one of the things I'd like to do just to get started is just kind of understand a bit about your career and what's brought you to where you are now.
Sure. Well, as you said, I am the lead for strategy and communications for Wingates. We're an architectural and interior design firm here in New Zealand. We are across the whole of the country, and I've been with them for about, I'd say, 3 or 4 years now. But I've had a career within what I would phrase the built environment for probably around 25 years now. So going back a little bit, and effectively in a business development or marketing communications role. And that's not just been here in New Zealand. I was in the UK and also had some time in Asia Pacific as well. In my view, business development is all about people, and I thrive in an environment where I can connect with people, and it's something which actually I put a lot of store on. And so I've worked with some incredible people in that period, particularly here in New Zealand, for some great firms, both global and local. And I think I wouldn't be in the role I am now or enjoying the role I am now if I didn't enjoy the fact that I enjoy people.
Fabulous. So it's been quite 3 years. Lockdowns, COVID, cost of living, rising inflation, interest rates, all those lovely things. What impact has that had on architecture and design studios? And also, the next part of that, what impact has it had on the clients?
Well, it's a good question, and it has been undoubtedly the most craziest period I think any of us have experienced in our lifetime, certainly. And if you look at things like lockdowns that we've had here in New Zealand, you look at that whole sort of work from home, that sense of uncertainty. Particularly the last couple of years with the rising costs, particularly in construction. It's been a pretty challenging time. And one thing I have to say is that architectural and interior design firms are no different to any other business. We still have to, evolve and still have to meet what the market's looking for, and also, keep people busy. So, there's no difference in what we do to what any other organization does throughout the market. What I would say is that going back to the sort of theme of people, is that it's all about relationships. Relationships are key, particularly in tough times, but also in very good times. There's a fine line between, keeping the wheels moving and getting the revenue in, and that other side where, it gets a bit choppier. And that's down to actually ensuring that your sort of audience that you're talking to understands what you can do for them. And there's some sort of mutual value in getting together and looking to where we can work together. It's been vital, I think, particularly the last 12 months or so for me in the role that I do, to ensure that the people that I talk to are successful in what they're looking to do as well. And yes, tough times, but also, very interesting, and there's a bit of hope there.
Brilliant. Hope's good. So we've successfully warmed you up now.
Yeah.
And speaking a bit more broadly and about the sector, what are going to be the main factors that are going to affect the next 2 or 3 years that you're looking at?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, obviously, the economy is something that we're all keeping a specific eye on, and the Auckland economy as well, in terms of specifically where we're sitting today. But on a general view, I would say, the sort of the things that we need to be looking at are sort of the likes of, what's happening in AI, particularly in architecture, whether that's actually a good or a bad thing or a combination, and also things like sustainability. We're seeing quite a lot of our clients and our audience and our communities looking for different types of products to build and to innovate with. So timber in construction, for example, is actually something which, here in New Zealand, we're sort of very interested in. And particularly in workplace, I think that sort of the ever-evolving concept of flexibility is not gone away. we had a huge change in 2020 where we all had to become far more adept at using technology and being able to be more productive or have to be productive at home. And I think that genie is out of the bottle. People are keen to retain that sort of element of flexibility. And that means we need to design spaces that actually can accommodate that. But what we've also found, particularly at the Wingates, is that actually it's about designing for a community. So we are social animals. Human beings are social animals. So we don't all want to be at home all the time or behind a screen. So we, in our industry, probably need to be looking at sort of encouraging people to be together in an area, designing spaces that encourage you to come to work or come to a place where you can do business. And I personally think that's actually something that's going to sort of be a big focus for the architectural and design industry in the years to come.
Absolutely, looking at good community.
Absolutely, yeah.
So building on that community aspect, there's been an awful lot of press here, as I'm sure there has been globally, around that conflict between people wanting to work from home and enjoying that kind of balance and lifestyle and ease of living, whereas employers want them in the office for a variety of reasons, some innovation, some mental health actually, and all these things come into factor. So what are you seeing? How's that tension playing out, and what's your role in actually building those workplaces of the future in those communities?
Well, it's certainly a hot topic at the moment, and you're right in that actually it's something which we're seeing every day with what our clients are asking us, and what particularly we're seeing within sort of our general design community. Look, again, going back to 2020, that changed everything. That was a huge amount of upheaval, I guess, and actually in some ways it also proved that organizations could still retain or maintain productivity with a sort of work from home basis. Yeah. I think it was about 12 months ago we started hearing that description of WFH, work from home, becoming WFW, which is work from work, which was saying organizations sort of encouraging people to come back. And I think perhaps that's sort of in relation to where the economy was sitting, and certainly trying to see where people could come back to get a more connection with their colleagues. We're seeing a lot of companies are very keen to mentor young people, particularly, have that opportunity to present or opportunity to discuss a sort of some sort of challenge that they've got with regards to some sort of business that they're working with. I know for certain that designers, the company that I work with, particularly the team that I work with, like to work together. We like to work in the office when they need to be creative. But on the flip side, if they need to have that time to focus and that time to actually sort of get on with the work that needs to be done, working from home and with the right type of technology is absolutely essential. Yeah. And actually, it means that us as an organisation is able to actually be more productive. So it's a fine line, and I think we're not going to have an answer yet. But I do see that a lot of organisations have felt that the pendulum has swung a little bit too one way, and we're trying to find a way to go back to more of a sort of an agreed sort of medium. Interesting times. But one thing I would say is that having flexible working allows you to have more access to talent as well. Yeah. So we are able to sort of encourage people that perhaps have childcare issues, or you've got some sort of personal non-work life that you need to look at. That can be accommodated because and you trust and you understand that the people have the integrity to get the job done.
So that's really interesting, right? And you look at that workplace environment as it is, and there's two ways to try and bring people back in. And clearly the stick's not going to work. It's 2024, we don't respond to that. Yeah. The type of people that we talk to and work with aren't going to respond to that. So the other one must be the carrot. So what's in that design to make that a lovely community hub? What is the things that people now need to be looking at in those spaces?
There's a colleague of mine who would say that you need to earn the commute. All right, and particularly here in Auckland, actually, that's quite prevalent.
Absolutely,
especially the last few weeks. It is about creating a hub where you can have inspiration, innovation to learning. Again, I'll go back to what I said before. We're social animals. We love. Most of us like to have social connection to understand. How we can operate. I think we're a better place when we are together. We're creating areas, particularly sort of for collaboration and for sort of community conversations, but also areas where you can take focused conversation calls, telephone calls, for example, in an area that you feel that you can do your job properly, but also you're actually sort of connected to the rest of your team. And that's been exciting. There's also just an increased use of technology. Technology is so much more available for our clients in a far more cost-effective way, and that gives them the opportunity to also connect as well online when they don't need to be in the office.
Brilliant. So, David, having worked in various locations here in New Zealand, London, Asia, as you mentioned earlier, there's a lot going on in these workplace dynamics and how we're bringing people and fostering these communities. What sort of good examples you've seen out there that we can lean to that actually work?
Well, I mean, London will always have a special place in my heart. I think it's an incredible place and actually has some incredible examples of workplaces, and I think that's a scale thing. The amount of people and the communities that are there have sort of transpired that they're going to create environments which actually lead the way. It's our sort of task here in New Zealand to understand what works for them and what can work for us in our particular world. What I would say as well is that it's places like Asia. I've worked with organisations in China and in Southeast Asia, the likes of Singapore, that are creating environments which actually are just exceptional, providing innovation and getting people together, getting people to actually feel that they want to go to that place of work, whether that's actually in a workplace or the complementary sort of community areas that are being built. It's fascinating what's going on there, and again, I guess it's a question of scale. But what I do think is there's a unique New Zealand Kiwi creativity that we lead the way in certain aspects of workplace. Particularly that sort of cultural piece at the moment, and I think we've got a lot to be proud of. I think not just my organisation Wingate, but there are organisations throughout Auckland and across New Zealand that have created some fantastic workplaces that sort of balance the need of the employer and the employee, and we should be very proud of it.
Awesome. So it's more than just having a nice coffee machine.
Absolutely, although coffee is extremely important.
Absolutely. So moving on to kind of the heartland of the conversation, or my heartland at least, thinking about BD and client relationship building skills within the creative industry or even wider within professional services, at what stage in their career should those professionals within those industries start thinking about developing and building these skills and networks?
Well, I don't think you're going to disagree with me when I say it's from the get-go, and particularly I think these days we're seeing that more and more. I actually, Wingates actually supports a charity, a New Zealand charity called Keystone Trust, which is for students from various diverse backgrounds looking to get into the built environment. And I've been absolutely astonished by their approach and their instilling of confidence and business development skills into those guys before they even start their university career. And I think it can only add huge amount of value to our organisation and our market going forward. And it's all about people. I'll go back to what I said at the start. It's all about people. And having that ability to communicate on top of your professional skills is only going to give you a huge amount of success. And I think the grasping the business development skills is vital to actually ensure, a glorious future.
Absolutely. So zeroing in on yourself and your career, how important has business development and building relationships been for you and where you've got to now?
Well, it was quite simple. I wouldn't have had the career I've got or be in this industry if it wasn't for the fact that, I've been developing, relationships, over a 20-year career, and that's, they were vital and important for me when I started off, and those relationships are still maintained today, It's all about, I believe, the integrity, having that sort of resilience, to deal with the days of triumph and disaster, to quote an old poem. It's also really showing an interest and willingness to engage with people, and I think I would be amiss not to sort of acknowledge a lot of the good people that I've met in my career and how they've helped me to where I am today.
Absolutely, it's about acknowledgement and that authenticity in that time. So what BD and marketing strategies have you applied throughout your career, and which ones have been the most effective?
I think it's about actually, understanding what people need, and certainly in the field that I'm in at the moment, it's sort of workplace change or built environment change, and understanding who those people are has been crucial. A key account management strategy is very important. Understanding who are the people that you need to be talking to, and ensure that actually those people are understanding what you are doing and what you can offer to them. Ensuring also that the people that you work with, the people that I work with on a daily basis, I need to instill that understanding that, BD is an important part of what they do, as well as creating fantastic workplaces, fantastic buildings, fantastic supermarkets. It's about engaging with people. And so ensuring that they're completely aware of what's happening in their market and who they need to be talking to on a pretty much a daily basis. And also just effective messaging. That's been very important. It's about ensuring that our audience, whether they're actually in New Zealand or outside or a developer or an occupier, are understanding, how we can make their job easier. And so effective messaging, through, social media or traditional media has been vital. And then just generally just being good people. Do what you say you're going to do.
Yes.
Can retain that element of integrity because you do a good job, and people need to know that, and also need to respect that. So simple stuff, but it's something which I think is very important.
Simple but brilliant. I love that. So in your industry, in the industries you worked in, there's an awful lot of RFPs that come to market, and lots of people out there are responding, doing bids and bids management. And yes, we help with all that kind of stuff,
absolutely. Right? Yeah.
But what are your kind of key tips to when an RFP lands? What do you need to do to have a successful proposal response?
Good question. I mean, look, we do a lot of them, and they're there's a certain sort of structure like everyone for a response. But I think my advice is always put your best foot forward. Always be genuine. Always answer the question. The question is vital. Ensuring it's not just. I mean, a lot of things are just about price, but it's all about who you are as an organization, what your sort of track record is, what you can do, how are you different, to your competitor. And ensuring that you showcase what you've done in the best possible light. Never one proposal is never the same. Everyone has its individual aspects, and so take it seriously. Ensure you answer all the questions, and ensure that you actually put yourselves out in the best possible light.
Brilliant. And finally, as our audience knows, we always end with the same question. So it's fun for me, what is your top tip you want to share with the audience here about BD?
Well, there's lots of things you can do, but probably the best answer I can give you is just get involved. Someone starting out in their career or even been in their career for 10 years, go out and talk to people. Find opportunities where you can interact with the rest of your market, your community. Understand what people are looking for, because that will make you a better person in the role that you're doing. And we've got some great platforms here in New Zealand to bring people together. So don't be scared.
Yeah,
get involved.
Brilliant. Avoid the fear. Love it.
Yeah.
So thank you, David. Thank you for coming in. That's the end of our conversation today. It's been a fabulous conversation. It's great having someone from an architectural practice. And yes, we zeroed in on workplace design today and workplace communities, but I know you also do commercial and retail. So a lot going on there as well. Yeah, and residential, of course. So there's a lot going on there in that space. It's been a really good chat. We've talked about some great BD things. We have loads more coming. We've had loads more we've previously recorded. So make sure you don't miss any. Make sure you like this, but also subscribe to our channel. Our business conversation is really worth following. And we've also got lots of other material where I give you some simple tips where you can follow and fire up your business development. Until next time, goodbye.
Excuse me.